Minasan konnichiwa and welcome back to the best Japanese lesson in the galaxy. I am your sensei Joe. Today I want to talk about daze and dazo. So I think a lot of people know daze because you hear this a lot in anime. Like, これはチンコだぜ. You know, so daze is kind of like, well, I think I discussed this before, but the closest I can get to explaining this, because nothing exists in English, it's really hard to explain Japanese expressions and stuff, let alone any other language in English. But to make things easier, daze is kind of like, if I want to say, this is an apple, like, oh, これはリンゴだぜ. It's kind of like saying, this is an apple, like that, yeah. It's that yeah-ness at the end. Daze. And this is not so much asking other person for the response or reaction. It's just completing the whole sentence within you, sort of. So you're just having this, completion of a sentence by yourself. It's like, this is an apple, yeah. Kind of like that. これはリンゴだぜ. だぜ. So a lot of guys use this. だぜ. Not too many girls use this. If you do, you're gonna be weird. Like people are gonna think you're strange or lacking education or just plain old foreigner, whatever. But it's very much a guy's way of speaking. So, well, I mean, unless you want to joke around and be funny, that's fine. But it's what I'm trying to say is that it's very conditional. So if you're a girl, well, if I were you and I was a girl, I wouldn't use it. Anyway, だぜ is like, これは水だぜ. This is water, yeah. Like that, at the end. It's the shonen comic book main character feel, right? Although Naruto says だってばよ, but だってばよ and だぜ is pretty much the same feel. And I discuss what だってばよ really means in my other video, so if you're too lazy to check out that video on the same channel, then too bad. Right. So let's move on to dazo. Dazo is kind of like daze, but it has a different feel, and this is where things get tricky in Japanese. Dazo is like, this is more so trying to express something to another person. For example, there are different ways and situations to use this, so it depends on that too. It doesn't have like one definite use for dazo, which makes it complicated, and of course it doesn't exist in English. But you want to get into a more complicated version of this word? Okay, well, let's do it. Daze and dazo, you can, well, depending on the sentence, like, you can't end it like daze or dazo. What you do sometimes is that you take the first letter, which is da, because it's da, ze, and dazo. Sometimes you take that out and just put the ze or zo at the end of the sentence. I know this is something that you kind of have to get used to, but if you want to say, this is delicious, yo, it's kind of like, これうまいぜ, うまいぜ. And you can't say うまいだぜ. This is one of the most popular ways to, make yourself look like a foreigner, because a lot of people get confused, and yes, it's just one letter, but if you don't know when to put the da and when to not put the da, you're totally gonna sound like you're not fluent at all in Japanese. That one thing. So if it's umai, umai has different meanings too, so let's discuss that in the later videos. But umai, which is a more casual way to say delicious. Oishii, you can say oishii too. これ美味しいぜ, or 美味しいぞ, or うまいぜ, うまいぞ. So just think of daze and ze as the same thing, dazo and zo as the same thing as far as the feel goes, all right? So if you want to say 美味しいぜ, that's sort of completing that expression by yourself. I mean, you can definitely be saying that to someone. これ美味しいぜ、美味しいぜ. But when you say like 美味しいぞ, 美味しいぞ, it has a little bit more of that expressing that feeling to another person. But this is very difficult to explain. And this nuance is stronger when more so than zo when it's dazo. Dazo has a stronger feeling of wanting to connect with another person. Not 100% of the time, but many times. How do you say? You can say like, oh, これリンゴだぞ. リンゴだぞ. It's this is apple. This is apple, man. It's kind of like waiting for that other person to maybe respond to you. You don't have to, but it's kind of like this is apple, yeah? Like that yeah kind of feeling. Whereas if you just said this is an apple, it ends there, right? But if you say like this is an apple, yeah? You're kind of waiting for that other person's response, right? It's kind of like that. Not exactly, but it's kind of like that. あ、これリンゴだぞ. You know, it's you know, a lot of people use it many times when you don't want to end the sentence as it is, just by yourself, just talking to yourself, but kind of getting that point across to the people around you, whether or not they're going to answer you or not. But it has that extra feel, okay. But if you want to say like, あ、これリンゴだぜ, リンゴだぜ. If you go down like リンゴだぜ, it's ending sort of with just you. You're not looking for that response that much. But if you end it upward, これリンゴだぜ, it's closer to that dazo feel. Yes, it's really confusing, I know, but well, the easiest thing to do is to not use daze, ze, or dazo, or zo. You can totally get by without using it. あ、これリンゴだ, or something. あ、これはリンゴだ. That can be it. Because when you say, あ、これリンゴだぜ, daze is a very, how do you say, sometimes a dangerous, how do you say, way to end a sentence, because you might sound like a cringy idiot, because it sounds way too wannabe main character from anime or TV series kind of feel, like リンゴだぜ, リンゴだぜ. But if it goes リンゴだぞ, it's a little less anime and wannabe main character cringy. But still, if you use it kind of wrong, the whole sentence dies. And I mean, although people are gonna, the chances are people are not gonna really fix that mistake for you, you know, because they're gonna be fine with it. It can totally make sense with the sentence being that way, and I don't think people are going to be so nitpicky as to say, oh, you don't say dazo or does it in that case. I'm probably one of the few people who would point it out. I mean, in this video anyway. But so that's another thing when learning Japanese. Like, you don't have to be fluent in Japanese to get people to say, oh, you're really good at speaking Japanese, right? Because it's very common for people to go like that in Japan too. Like, they can, like, if you can speak a few sentences or something, even if you're grammatically kind of wrong or something, like, they'll still be like, oh yeah, your Japanese is better than ours. That stuff, which is total bullshit many times. But I mean, I think people do that because they are truly impressed by people, you know, learning Japanese and stuff. But to get back to the topic, yeah, the daze and the dazo, the safer way to do it is to not use them, at least until you get the hang of it, sort of. So probably the best thing to do is to listen to the people around you. If you are living in Japan, or if you have Japanese friends or people who speak Japanese fluently, like, just get used to it. And then maybe, like, if you're 100% sure when to use that and how and, like, why you use those, then maybe. But, well, I'm just saying that's what I would do. So it's a very complicated stuff, like daze and dazo and ze and zo. So if you have more questions, you can let me know in the comments, because yes, this is pretty advanced stuff that we're going through, and yeah, be sure to check out my other lessons on this channel, and I'll talk to you guys there, okay? Bye. Chinko.
Boys and girls 男の子は強く優しくて清く正しく君とならどこまでも行けるから This is not who I am This is not where I wanna be Of my boner sad sad pathetic life Fuck shit bitch 悪い言葉 The dark is up in it to force